Hello, fellow trailblazers. Welcome to another episode on my platforms, Escapes with TK on YouTube, and of course, my podcast, Money Adventures with TK. And of course, if you're new to the channel, or platforms rather, my name is Tukiso TK Ntebe, and I bring you fresh content on anything personal finance, money, travel, and lifestyle. Now, in today's video, I'm very excited to be sharing this video because there has been news in the financial services space. And of course, as the finance bachelor, I am the one who brings you all the breaking news. So now you may be wondering what I am talking about or what this video will unpack. And at this point in time, I've got my phone with me because I've got a number of notes that I want to share. So don't mind me when I keep referring to my phone because I need to remember every single thing so that I bring you guys the latest, most updated information. So a few weeks ago rather, the central bank the government of Lesotho enacted the Financial Consumer Protection Act. Now, why is this important? Many a time, consumers, which is you and I, go to different financial services providers in the country in order to get financial products or services. Now, for many years, consumers have not been protected, where many financial services providers could do practically what they wanted to do. So in 2022, in the month of June, the government of Lesotho, through the Central Bank of Lesotho as the regulator, launched or enacted the Financial Consumer Protection Act of 2022. So in today's video, I want to share some key insights which I believe are very important for you to know in order to understand and unpack this particular act. The first one is you as a consumer of financial products have the right to be provided with comprehensive information. What this basically means is if you are looking for a financial product or services, the financial services providers need to give you all the information. What this means is you need to have access to the benefits, the risks, the advantages and disadvantages that this particular financial product or services has. Secondly, they need to disclose all the terms and conditions. Many a time, the T's and C's are the fine print, and as consumers, we have a habit of not reading this. So you have the right for these terms and conditions to be provided, number one, and to be explained so that you understand what it is you are buying. The second one is you have the right to be provided key facts about this particular point, financial products or services that you're buying. I mentioned this earlier on. So this includes the benefits, the risks, and the terms and conditions. The third one that is very important is if you are applying for credit facilities, this is a car loan, a home loan, a personal loan, etc., you have the right to be given the information that, one, they will collect certain documents from you, which will include a copy of your ID, your proof of income, and your proof of residence. Secondly, they need to tell you that they will run your information across credit bureaus. So you may not know that there is an actual credit bureau agency in Lesotho. So all banks and financial services providers usually do a credit check. But this act says they need to disclose to you that they will be doing a credit check and background on you. So if you don't know and you have not been paying your loans, I did a video on that where I was talking about debt management. Go look at that video, which I'll also link link below. The other thing that's also very important is many a time when you walk into a financial services provider, I'll use a bank for example, and you want to open a savings account, okay? And because the sales agents usually have targets, if you walk in and you want to open a savings account, as an example, many a time they will incentivize you or persuade you to get a check account or a current account. Now, this particular act says they are not allowed to incentivize you to upsell you to certain things. Now, there's a big difference between upselling, cross-selling, which I will do in a different video, but you have the right to be given what it is that you want as a consumer instead of being incentivized to get something else. The other thing which I did when I did the financial products review of the different banks is many a time when it comes to pricing, as an example, you have the option to pay as you transact or bundled pricing. So this particular act says you as a consumer have the right to choose which of these pricing strategies work for you. If you don't know what pay as you transact is, or you don't know what bundled pricing is, please refer to earlier videos where I reviewed different financial products from the different banks. The other thing that's also very important here is, which I thought was very important, you as a consumer have the right to move from one financial services provider to the other. Now that gives you flexibility to compare, that gives you flexibility to choose which financial services provider you are going to. Now the risk many consumers have, however, is they want to move from one bank to the other, especially those with loans. Or bank that particular loan. That is also something to consider as a consumer, because we tend to have a bad attitude towards that and a bad behavior where I take a loan here, I don't pay it, and I want to move on to the other thing. This act does not say you are allowed to do that. It just says you have the freedom to move from one financial services provider to the other. Now, the other thing that financial services providers are not allowed to do under the Act, for example, is they are not allowed to make deductions, interest deductions, fees, or charges without your consent or without your knowledge. The second thing they're not allowed to do is they're not allowed to make changes to the initial agreement. Say, for example, I took out a personal loan agreement. They are not allowed to make changes to that particular agreement without consulting or engaging me as a consumer. The other thing is they're not allowed to discriminate against you as a consumer, whether it's based on your gender, your income level, your sexual orientation, your race, your economic or socio-economic status. They're not allowed to discriminate based on any of those factors that I mentioned. And then again, from a collateral perspective, many a time you walk into a financial service provider and they ask you for collateral. Collateral is also known as security. Now, they're not allowed to take your ATM card. They're not allowed to take your proof of identification, whether it's your ID card or it's your passport. They're not allowed to do all those kind of things. So if a financial services provider asks to take a copy, to take the original document, ID document, or your ATM card, that is already a red flag. Therefore, you should not be doing business with that particular financial services provider. So let me do a quick recap of what I spoke about in summary without looking at my notes. Number one, the Financial Consumer Protection Act came out in June 2022, and its sole purpose is to protect you as a consumer of financial products. This says that you have the right to be given comprehensive and detailed information about the product or service that you're buying. This includes the benefits, the risks, how it works, and the terms and conditions associated to that. Number two, you have the right to be told that if you're applying for credit facilities, for example, that a credit check will be done against your name or against your profile. So they need to tell you that. They can't do it without your knowledge. Number three, you have the right to choose which product you want. If, for example, you want a savings account and they recommend a check account, you have the right to choose the product that is suitable for your needs. Number four, you have the right to choose which pricing strategy suits your wallet. This means if I want to pay as I transact, or if I want to go the bundled pricing route, you have the right to choose. The other one that I forgot to mention earlier on is many a time when you walk into a bank and say, for example, I want, or a credit provider, and I want a loan to the value of 50,000 Rand. Usually they will tell you qualify for 80,000 Rand, which is 30,000 more. You have the right to say, I want the 50 that I want and not the 80. Many a time consumers fall for that trap, and I always say, which I also mentioned in the earlier video, just because you qualify does not mean you can afford it. And then the other ones in closing is you have the right to move from one financial services provider to the other, and these financial services providers do not have the right to discriminate against you based on any of the factors that I mentioned. They don't have the right to change the initial agreement. And then lastly, they do not have the right to charge interest fees without your consent. Now, the last one that I want to mention before we wrap up this video is what is called the cooling off period, which I thought was amazing. So basically what this says under the act, it says that you have the right to go into a contract, but you have up to 5 days cooling off period to decide whether you want to take up that particular product or not. I'm yet to see how it's actually implemented, but I thought that was an amazing addition to the law. Now, in closing, just because you are a consumer of financial products and you have rights, it does not mean that you don't have responsibilities. I will do a separate video some other time where I talk about the responsibilities you as a consumer of financial products have. Now, I wish you all the best, and I wish you knowledge and empowerment. Please go look up the Financial Consumer Protection Act, familiarize yourself with it, and know your rights as a consumer so that we can hold the financial services providers accountable. Now, you know the rules, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below and let me know what you liked about this video, what you thought about this conversation, what you know or don't know or didn't know before this video about your rights as a consumer. And then, of course, we are trying to grow our community of trailblazers. So share this video with your family, your friends, your frenemies, and ask them to subscribe. Now, lastly, hit the notification bell, because every single time I upload a new video on my platforms, you need to be aware of it. Until the next video, love, peace, and money. Cheers, guys.